Hello everyone, we are out on the back deck for the back deck June garden tour. I think I mentioned this in the front deck tour, but this is the garden that's still in a bit more chaos because I still have a bunch that I need to plant up. But this is definitely the garden with my favorite view. I love the view of the church back there. We get some really beautiful sunrises because this is the deck that, well, I call it the back deck, but it faces east. So it gets full morning sun, and I start every single morning that I can, if it's not raining, basically out here. And I love it so much. It's also where the couch is. So this is typically the garden where I'm relaxing most of the time. I didn't garden on it until last year. I was trying to contain myself, but I've taken over this one as well. This is also 18 by 19 square feet, but we do have some air conditioning units, so it's technically a little bit smaller in terms of usable space. Another difference is that I'm trying to make this a more formal garden, and by formal I mean sticking to a color scheme, trying not to be completely chaotic like I can sometimes be on the front deck. So the color scheme out here, again, a lot of these aren't in bloom right now, but the color scheme I'm going for are pinks, oranges, purples, and whites. And I do notice a difference, even though I love color chaos. At the same time, I do notice a more relaxing feeling out here. There's also not no fruit or veg, because I do have a couple fruit trees out here that I'm really excited about. But this is also more either like annual decorative flowers or some cut flowers. So having rambled on, let me go ahead and show you what my back deck is looking like in June. So first, we will also do a sweep of this deck, and I think you can see a lot of the chaos is from all the annuals that I still have to plant, but there is still a lot that's already in place. So I do think after, a few more days of planting, everything will be good and I will have this space back. But also, isn't that view just so pretty? I do have all of the annuals still sitting on the deck. I've planted a good amount, but it still looks like there's so many, which is a great problem to have. I'm not going to go through each of these in this video because I have a whole video I posted last week maybe that I will link down below of all of the annuals that I got sent from Proven Winners. The perennials are over there. I can start with the less pretty stuff first, but this is kind of my storage area right now. I have box planters I'm going to plant up, some empty containers I'm going to plant up, potting soil, the perennials that I am either going to plant up or give away. So right now this is like the main storage area. Then I have what I like to call my back border, and I'm so excited. I think everything in the raised beds, the beds themselves are from Charming Bench Company. I think everything in the raised beds are things I started from seed. So let's head back there and I'll show you what I have growing. The first thing you see around the corner is my tumbler composter. I do love it. It does not in any way or shape or form make enough compost for my entire garden, but I do like having a place to put my plant waste, my food waste, a lot of the paper packaging that comes in packages in there. So I really like having that tumbler composter, and it's easier than I thought. I kind of almost feel like I don't really know what I'm doing, and yet it still keeps working. So far, so good. In the corners here, I have 2 emerald arborvitae. I just planted these this spring because the hollies that I had here, I planted last fall. They survived the winter, but then just straight up died, I think, from root rot. So I did put in a lot more perlite into the pots this time. And then I also have those on wheels because these are heavy. So it's nice to have them on wheels to be able to wheel them around the deck. Now, let me step back actually a little bit first. Well, maybe we'll do what's in front of the raised beds in this section, then we will head to the raised beds. Again, these are all in my video where I go over what Proven Winners sent me, but one thing they did send me separately were 2 of these Oh So Easy in Fuego roses. I have one in this pot. There's another one here which I'm definitely going to grow. I had a rose here. The rose that was in that pot, I think you probably saw in last month's tour, but basically I brought it down to the garage to overwinter. It dropped all of its leaves. It started to leaf back out, and it came out here in spring. Then it dropped all of its leaves again. So the new ones that I just put out this spring, those all fell off. Some branches started turning brown, but then it was kind of spotty and started to come back. But I decided to replace it because, again, in a smaller garden, I don't really have the space for plants that aren't really healthy and look kind of sick. And so I decided to replace it. So I replaced it with that one, and then hopefully, I think a lot of the issue is maybe I brought it out too soon with the cold rain, and maybe there was some sort of root rot there as well. So I'm going to try to leave the plants in the garage longer this next spring. So in these two first gray pots here, I have lilies and I have dahlias from Proven Winners bulb kits. I don't know if I love them here though. Like as I start to get more in my garden, I kind of feel what I love in the spots that I have them in and what I don't. So I think after the lilies flower, because there are some buds, I might transplant those downstairs. There's a small patch of dirt out front that I can plant those bulbs into. And then the dahlias I might transplant somewhere else, because I think in these gray pots I want to put in some of the Superbena and some of my Supertunia annuals. So I think that's going to be the plan. Then I also have here a peony. I have 1, 2, 3 peonies I just got this spring. So obviously they're still small, didn't flower this spring. And I have a couple begonias. I'm also probably going to put more annuals around it just for now, but I do love peonies. We'll see if I love them enough for when they do flower to only have them flower for such a short time, but I think it'll be worth keeping them. If not, I know friends that will gladly take them off of my hands. So now let me talk a little bit about this back border. I do have videos showing me planting this up, so I will link those down below, but basically the 3 beds that I have here from the center are planted mirror images of each other. Again, nothing in flower, everything just kind of looks like a green blob, but that is how I laid it out. And then in between I have 2 of the Otto's Thrill dahlias, which will also be pink. So coming up closer to these beds, in the back I have Cupcake Blush Cosmos, and then I have the Celosia from Florette in that corner. And then in the bed I have Gomphrena in the corner. I think that is the Gomphrena Rose. I have 3 of the China Asters. I have a maple tree trying to grow. And then I have a Status. And then I don't think this was in the video, but I think this is stock. I think I had some random stock that I started from seed that I stuck one in there. So that's what's in this bed. And then that's also the same layout but mirror image in that bed at the end. So then in the center raised bed, I also tossed in the stock. I have 2 more Gomphrena in the corner, and then I have China Aster, Status. Did I call that stock? I keep calling stock Status and vice versa. That is Status. This I'm pretty sure is the stock. Status, China Aster, Gomphrena, and the stock. So that's what is in that center raised bed. Now in my other 2 gray pots, I did have alliums. They bloomed, they're beautiful. I've harvested them. They're actually hanging to dry inside right now. So I need to pretty soon here dig up and store these bulbs to plant this fall to bloom next spring. So I'm going to do that. And then again, pot those up with alliums. Here in the center is the Peppermint Patty Virginia, and this was really pretty. I really like this. I'll put in a photo here because it's not blooming right now, but it blooms in early spring. It is the 2nd year, I think, that I had it, so I overwintered it in the garage, but it does like part shade to shade, and this is full sun, so I think I'm going to move it. I don't know where. I'm going to keep it for sure, but I don't know the perfect spot for it yet. It could go in the parkway, but I think the root ball is so big that I can't dig a hole that big in the parkway, so we'll see kind of where that ends up, but it made me really happy in the spring to see those blooms. Let's hop over the annuals here. So that's another, again, dahlia right there. These are the other 2 peonies. We already went over what was planted in these raised beds. So now let's look at my 2 columnar apple trees. They did not bloom at the same time, which made me nervous that I wouldn't get any apples because you need 2 different varieties to cross-pollinate with each other. So I got this set of 2, I think it was from Park Seed last year, right? Or was it Stark Bros? I can't remember, but this one on the left bloomed first, and then there were like maybe 1 or 2 blooms left on this one when this one started to bloom, so I hand pollinated and it appears to have worked. So the one on the left is Scarlet Sentinel, the one on the right is White Icicle, and I think you can already see here I have apples, and I actually removed some because I was told to. This is my first year having actual like apples on an apple tree, so I'm still learning about fruit trees in general, and especially fruit trees in containers. But I have 2 apples there. There is another one there, another one there, another one there. Basically, it is much more full of apples than I was ever expecting. So I'm excited. If you do have any tips, let me know. These are in pots that they're not going to be in permanently, but again, I don't have that permanent place for them yet. So here is where they're going to live for now. But having apples on a tree that takes up that little space in my garden makes me so happy. And then back here I have a mismatch of pots because especially for these like more ceramic types, I choose whatever is cheapest at the store, so they don't necessarily match. But I have one of the Super Tunia Vista bubblegum in each. I know that right now it doesn't look like it's very full, but these will completely cover the pots they're in relatively quickly. So that's what's along the back wall. And then down below is my zinnia and dahlia border, which for now is still shorter than the couch, but soon it won't be. So let's go head back there and I'll show you what it looks like. All of these zinnias are the Floret Precious Metals. It is a mix, so I don't know what colors, but they're all pastels ranging from like yellows, orange, pinks, purples. And then here I have my dahlias. And of course, I do have a label. I can't remember off the top of my head. So I have Lilac Thyme. So this is me a light purple lilac color flower. Which one are you? You are Fairway Spur, which I'm pretty sure was an orange color. I have zinnia there. Then I have, oh, you're Otto's Thrill. Oh, you know what? What is in between my border, my back border is Pin Hill Watermelon, because I only have one Otto's Thrill. Thomas A. Edison, which something has been chewing on. I've been trying to find it, but I haven't found it yet. But at least it's growing quite large. I have another of the zinnia, and then another Lilac Thyme, and another Fairway Spur, another zinnia, and another Cosmos right back there. I have some more gladiolus there that I didn't have room for, so I threw them in that pot. And then back here I have my vertical planter. So it was just buckets, but I drilled holes in for drainage so that now it can be a vertical planter on wheels, which is perfect. And I haven't planted it yet. So I've named this planter Nanette. I know it's going to be full of annuals, and I wanted to kind of see if I liked the layout before I planted them. And I think this is the layout I'm going to go with. So I have here up at the top, I have Super Bell's Prism Pink Lemonade. These two wait, are these different? Hang on a second. This says Super Bell's Prism Pink Lemonade. This says Super Bell's Magic Pink Lemonade. I don't know what the difference is, so I will have to figure that out. But yeah, I was like, I thought the word magic was in one of those, so I will look into that. I also did put in 2 Gomphrena here. This is the Snow White, this is Carmine, so this will be pink. Then I have in here the Campfire Marshmallow Bidens, 2 Super Tunia Vista Jazzberries, which we'll see if I regret having them in here depending on how much they spill out, but I can always prune if they get a little bit too crazy. I have, what are the names of these? I love you, but I can't remember your name. These are the Selenia Apricot Begonia, and I love how these look. I have a bunch more that I need to find space for because I love them so much. Then I have 2 of the Super Tunia Vista Fuchsias. I have one of you is the Orchid Blush Impatient, and that means this one must be the Purple Candy Impatient. So again, not planted up yet, but that'll probably be happening either tomorrow or the day after, weather depending. And then behind I have 2 more Morning Glory, which have already reached the top of the cage. So I really, really love how this section looks. Now, small garden problems, having to get around. Let's go ahead and I will show off my little hydrangea garden back there. Hydrangeas are one of my all-time favorite plants. So I was really excited to find out that I can grow them in containers, because when I first started gardening, I didn't realize how much I could still grow in containers, especially now that there are so many dwarf varieties on the market. I think you can see which one is my favorite right now, the standout. This is the Let's Dance Skyview. So all of these, except for this one, are dwarf varieties that'll get to about 2 to 3 feet tall and wide. And look how covered in blooms this is. Now, I think I mentioned in the front deck garden tour, so this is still full sun, but it's full morning sun. So there are some plants that can tolerate the full sun here that can't on the west deck. Hydrangeas, as I found out, were one of those plants because they absolutely fry if they are on my front deck. But here on the back deck, the sun really stops shining in them right around noon, so they've been doing well so far. So again, favorite one right now, Let's Dance Skyview. This one is the Tough Stuff Aha. I overwintered all of these. All of these I overwintered in the garage. So yeah, that is the Tough Stuff Aha. This is the one that I think is just a standard size, and I need to figure out what I'm going to do with it eventually, but that is Pinky Winky Prime. And then over here I have two tiny Quickfire, which those have actually overwintered 2 winters now because I got them at the 2022 Grand Garden Show. I have the Tough Stuff Top Fun Hydrangea, which is much further behind the other hydrangeas. And then this one over here, the other one that's blooming, is Let's Dance Ariba. So I do have all these hydrangeas, and it has been interesting to see. I mean, they're different varieties, of course, except for the 2 tiny Quickfires, which are the same. But interesting to see, I have one that's completely blooming. I have one where the buds are just opening up. So it's all in different kind of stages right now, but I love this so much. And I'm going to do a whole video on perfect hydrangeas to grow in pots, care for hydrangeas in pots, because I have learned so much over these last few years. I think those are all the plants, except for this one, that I need to have a little chat about and get your opinion on. This is my beach plum tree. I got this last spring, and I overwintered it out here because it's too large for me to move downstairs. I think it is hardy down to zone 4, which, because we're zone 6A here, I try to go down at least to 4, if not 3, for plants that I overwinter. And when I moved it, because I will push everything basically up against the wall for just some extra protection, I moved my furniture up against it to give the root ball some protection in the container. But it did seem like it lived. And the buds on the branches, which I know you can't really tell right now, but they did start to swell, and then everything kind of stopped. It didn't leaf out and lose its leaves like my rose did, and then I did a bunch of scratch tests, and they seemed like the branches were still alive, but nothing has happened. Nothing has happened on the tips of the branches. It did start pushing out a bunch of new growth, and I do know that it does like to sucker and grow and spread. And there's a little bit of growth coming out of the bottom of those stems, but I don't know, even though there are some signs of life, if I'm going to leave it here or get rid of it. Because similar to the rose, like obviously this plant isn't completely healthy because the stems aren't budding out. It doesn't look great in the garden, and I have such limited space, and this is in such a big pot and taking up so much space that I don't know if it's worth it. And not only that, so when I originally got the beach plum tree, I was told it was self-pollinating, but then looking it up later, I realized I do need a second one for it to actually produce plums. I didn't necessarily need it to do that. I did just like how it looked, how it flowered in the spring, supposed to, and how it looked just kind of as a bush in my garden. But I don't think I love that enough to keep it how it is. So let me know your thoughts. Again, if I had acres of land and I could put this somewhere and let it kind of recover, grow back, whatever it's going to do, I would definitely do that. When I have such limited space, taking up this much for that tree, I don't know if it's worth it. So I think you can tell where I'm leaning, but if this is something you can talk me out of doing, let me know. But that is now, I think, everything on my back deck. I am really in love with the back deck this year. I feel like I've got my groove down on the front deck because, like I said, I've been gardening on that one since 2020. I just really started gardening here on this one in 2022. So there's a lot I still need to do out here. Annuals I need to plant. There is some stuff downstairs I need to plant as well, even though we don't, really have a yard to actually garden in, but I have some pots out front that I want to put on the railing. So there's still a lot to do, but I have been enjoying the slower pace that I've been taking to really put some thought into the plants and where I'm putting them. So anyway, that is the end of the back deck June garden tour. Let me know your thoughts on that beach plum tree and what you think I should do. And then I will see you in the next video, probably where we'll be planting up in the net.